Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Iyun with Benzion and Yevamos Zion. I am wearing I'm going to stay this the next like 10 shiurim just very shortly. So to get rid of people's confusion of why I'm wearing a tie and a jacket, I am not wearing a tie and jacket because I am a rabbi. In fact, I shave because of that. If I want to look like a rabbi, I would take the tie off and I would just wear a jacket, open like a real yeshivish guy. I am doing it for the business aspect. I'm a professional now. My videos are on the professional level. So therefore, since I'm on the professional level, I have to dress the part. And if you think I'm a rabbi, watch some of my other videos. I do not act like a rabbi at all. I am the most confident and cool guy in the world. So if people are unsubscribed and they're making a big mistake, you better subscribe and tell your friends. Go to your friend's house and subscribe for him when he's sleeping. I'm joking. Uh, but listen, come on. I mean, you watch my content, the best content out there on YouTube, maybe the whole internet. I have the best content. It's really a wonder to me that people are not subscribing. I have no idea why. You listen to my content, you listen to me for long enough, you realize I'm the best. All right. So we're going to deal with Yevamos Sadi Zai 97, Iyun Benzion today. We'll start with the new parak. Nosin al anusav amafuta. The Mishnah says, if you rape a woman, this is the halacha. If you rape a woman, even though normally, if you marry a woman, you can never marry her daughter, even if it's not your daughter. You didn't have that daughter with her. It's her daughter from a different marriage, or she has a granddaughter from a different marriage. You can never marry a woman and her daughter or her granddaughter. You can't do that. But if you raped a woman, right, and she has a daughter, not from you. If she has a daughter from you, she's your daughter, and you can't marry your daughter. But if she's not your daughter, you raped a woman, and she has a daughter from a different marriage, or a granddaughter from a different marriage, you're allowed to marry, even though you raped her, you're allowed to marry her daughter or granddaughter. Why are you allowed to marry her daughter or granddaughter? The Gemara explains, there's really two reasons given in the Gemara. The Gemara says, here it says, normally it says shchiva when it talks about an Isra Erva. Here it says kicha. So therefore, derech likuch in Asra Torah, only when you're married to both of them, married to the wife and married to her daughter or granddaughter. And then Rava gives a second reason. Rava says there's a stira in the Torah, there's two psukim. One pasuk implies, right, it says ervas bas bincha bas bichal zegala. Ha bas bina dida, bas bita dida. Right, you can't marry your granddaughter. But your wife's granddaughter, right, that you could, lo segala, that you could reveal that. V'chsiv ervas isha bita lo segala as bas bina bas bita lo tika. Another pasuk says you can't marry a wife and her granddaughter or her daughter. You can't marry them together. It's a kan bones and kan benisuin. If you're married to the wife, so then you can't marry her daughter or granddaughter. But if you're simply raped her, so then you could marry her daughter or granddaughter. That's how the Gemara resolves that. Now, what exactly? And the Gemara says the reason that we're more machmir when it comes to nisuin as opposed to ontin is because most of our rayos are share. Share is kinship, family or familiarity, the same idea. Being familiar with them. I want to say a basic idea. Since all our rayas are share, we know one of the tanaim in when you're supposed to be married to a woman, sheiro ksusa manasalo yigra. Some people say share is mazonos, share is kiruv basar. Being familiar with them or being too close. The Torah, the purpose of the arayos, I know the Ramban and the Rambam talk about this, but the basic idea behind the arayos is gilui arayos. Is an erva is a weak part of the land, right? Erva sa'aretz batem liros. This is by the Marag, by Yosef says to his brothers, you want to see the erva sa'aretz, the weak point of the land. There's red lines. We live in a box. There's red lines. You can't pass red lines, although we destroy society. That's the way we live. We live, if you go past the red line, right, and you're destroying society, which is not a terrible thing. Ultimately, once Mashiach, we have to destroy society. But in terms of the way we live right now, we live in a box, and you have to be in a box in order to relate to other people. If you're not in the box, you're supposed to think out of the box, but ultimately bring it back into the box. And if you're not part of the box, then no one's going to pay attention to you, and no one's going to associate with you. So part of that is that you have to keep your distance from people, even if they're your family members, right? Your sister, your mother, your daughter. These are people that are, the closest women to you. I mean, and your wife also. You can't become too close to them. That's part of the erva in the Torah. You're weakening society if you're doing that. If you're becoming too close, you have bia with your sister, bia with your daughter, bia with your mother, or you take a wife and her daughter. I mean, you're getting too familiar with your wife. That's part of it. You can't get too familiar with your wife. Getting too familiar with your wife, marrying her and her daughter, is too familiar with her. Too familiar with her. And that's what the Torah is saying over here. So when you rape a woman, so that's what the Gemara, the Rava says, that you raped her, you have no familiarity with her, you raped her, you left. So you can marry her daughter or granddaughter because that's not treading on the boundaries of society, becoming too close with your wife. But if you are you're presently married to a woman, and then you also marry her daughter or her granddaughter, you're becoming too close to your wife, and that would be arayos, that would be an erva in the Torah. I'm wondering, I don't know exact pratim of the halacha. It says an interesting thing, no sin al anusa al mafuta. It says you're allowed to get married. If you rape a woman, you can marry to her daughter or to her granddaughter, which implies that by nesua, you can't get married to her, right? That sounds like the bia. Let's say you're married to a woman, the bia with her daughter or granddaughter, could that possibly be mutter? And I think actually it's borne out in the psukim over here, the two drushes over here. One pasuk says, right? Exactly. The first drush in the Gemara says, how do you know this? Only if you're presently married to a woman and to her daughter, that's familiarity. If you are married to a woman and then you have bia one time with her daughter, I don't know if that's a violation of becoming too familiar. I think that's also born in the second. Rava adds a second thing. Anas isha mutter lisa bita. You're allowed to marry her. Ervas bas bincha bas bizcha lo segala. Bnas bno dida bas bita dida gali. Right. It talks about your grandkid, your grandchild. Right. You could be together with them. Ervas isha bita lo segala. As bas bna as bas bisa lo tika. So when it comes to marrying a woman and her daughter, and a woman and her granddaughter, it's a little different. The Torah phrases it differently. When it comes to marrying a woman and her daughter, it says lo segala. Even a woman, if you're married to a woman and you have bia with her daughter, that's already too familiar. But if you're married to a woman and you have bia with her granddaughter, right? It's a granddaughter is not so connected to the grandmother. I'm actually going to go visit her a couple times a year, give her mishloach manos. But I'm saying, go to Hanukkah, Purim, go to visit her. But besides that, the grandmother is not so close to the daughter. So therefore, technically, maybe you could have bia with the granddaughter. That wouldn't be us, or just to be. And that's why it says that only marriage to both of them, marriage to the mother, and marriage to the mother, to the wife, and the daughter, and the daughter and the granddaughter, because it includes the granddaughter, where only marriage to both the grandmother and the granddaughter is usher. But a bia, I'm wondering if a bia maybe is okay with the granddaughter. The Gemara says, the pasuk says for sure you can't have bia with the daughter. Be married to the mother and have bia with the daughter, but maybe bia with the granddaughter could be mutter. It just says lo sikach. It says two things. Lo segala is even bia, and lo sikach by the as bas benav as bas bita, the grandkid, the granddaughter lo sikach can't be married to her. That's why it uses the word nosin, right, to imply that nisuin is mutter in one case. Then nisuin is the ister. Nisuin is the ister of a wife with her daughter and granddaughter. But technically, you could have bia with a wife and married to the wife and have bia with the granddaughter. That might not be an ister in the Torah, but it says explicitly that bia with the daughter would be, because again, these are becoming too familiar with your wife. I'm wondering if that's a valid chiluk to make. That's why Rav is adding in a second drasha to show you that pasuk, to show you that bia with the granddaughter would not be a problem, just nisuin. That's why it phrases the Mishnah, no sin. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.